Iya. Director of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, the Vice Rectors of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, the Deans of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, the Head of Research Institutions and Community Service LPPM of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, the Head of Quality Assurance LP3M UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Good morning, and we are delighted to welcome you all to the second day of International Seminar of Research Month 2021 of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Indonesia, by bringing the theme, Building Disaster Resilience through Database and Literacy Advancement. Selamat pagi, kami sangat senang menyambut Bapak Ibu semua di hari kedua International Seminar of Research Month UPN Veteran Jawa Timur 2021. This conference is a forum for discussions between various parties such as academics, policymakers, business actors, and practitioners. Furthermore, it is expected that the conference can show various kinds of cultural differences throughout the world. The additional purpose of this conference is to provide a place for academics and professionals with interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary interests to meet and interact with members, both within and outside their own disciplines. This conference provides a great opportunity for prospective participants to share their recent theoretical knowledge, research findings, and experiences in dealing with sustainable information, law, economics, engineering, and technology. As such, this conference will feature presentation by international speakers. Today, we're going to have two presentations. The first one is from Bapak Muhammad Irwan Afandi MSc from UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. The second one is Dr. Muhammad Saud from International Islamic University, Pakistan. The next agenda is discussion, debriefing, and closing statement. Then we are gonna have a break from 11:10 to 12:30 p.m. After the break, all presenters are expected to join the breakout rooms that have already been prepared by the committee and start the parallel panel discussions at 12:30 p.m. before the closing remarks at 3 p.m. Without further ado, please welcome our speakers that will present their research, and the presentation sessions will be led by our own moderator, Ms. Kinanti Resmihayati. Ms. Kinanti, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the time for Master of Ceremony. His Excellency, Director of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. His Excellency, the Vice Rectors, His Excellency, the Deans, and also the Head of Organization UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. Respectable chair of this international conference, the honorable of all guests, presenter, and participant of this seminar, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kinanti Resmihayati, the moderator of the first keynote speaker sessions in this international conference. These keynote sessions will discuss about the building disaster resilience through database and literacy advancement. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the presentations, in order to avoid any disturbances during the presentations, I would like to inform you with several informations. First, please keep unmute voice in each session. Second, please use Q&A panel in the Zoom room to send questions to the keynote speaker. We will answer this during the discussions. Thank you. The Honorable Mr. and Madam Speaker, distinguished guests, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. So, before the presentation began, allow me to greeting our first keynote speaker. Good morning, Mr. Iwan.
Morning. How are you?
I'm pretty fine. How about you, Mr. Irwan?
Doing good. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, thanks. So before the presentation begins, so allow me to introduce our special keynote speaker. Our first keynote speaker is Mr. Irwan. So let me read the profile of Mr. Irwan. Okay, so our first keynote speaker, Mr. Muhammad Irwan Alfandi. So he spent his bachelor degree on industrial engineering in ST3 Bandung, Indonesia. And also he spent his graduate degree on applied computing business computing on 2004 in Eastern Kentucky University, Kentucky, USA. He also has an experience in some positions. On 2009 and in 2016, he was a Secretary of Information System Department. In October 2016, he was a head of Information System Department. In 2017 until now, he was the head of University ICT Service Divisions. And this is also the research experience by Mr. Irwan. Start from business process management on 2020 until intelligent communication system ICS for agriculture in 2016. And some of community engagement experience. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to welcome our first keynote speaker, Mr. Muhammad Irwan Alfandi. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Muhammad Irwan Alfandi. Time is yours. You have 30-minute presentation, Mr. Irwan.
Thank you, Ms. Kinanti, for introducing me to the to all the participants of the IESRM second day seminar. The Honorable Excellency Mr. Rector, and then His Excellency Vice Rector, and all the leaders of the UPN organization, and also all the participants of this seminar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat pagi. Today, I was asked by the committee of the seminar to share my thought and my ideas regarding the building the disaster resilience through database and literacy advancement. So I will try to share the screen. There's no problem with sharing. Okay, can you see? Is it visible to Ms. Kinanti? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Irwan, we can see
Yeah.
the presentations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before starting my presentation, I think I will start with the a little introduction, just what happened to us that we have experienced in the last 2 years. What a disaster that have swept all the world, yeah, from any country in the world. So we are experiencing something that we didn't have in the past. Myself, I have a brother-in-law. I lost him like 3 or 2 months ago to COVID. So it was hard for me and the whole family, because we didn't expect that kind of, you can call it accident or you can call it whatever, but it's hard for us. So it kind of motivated me to try to share an idea of what we can do to prevent or at least to ease the pain of everyone involved in this disaster done by COVID-19. So My talk today entitled drug shortage problem during pandemic, a review using graph database. So not in any way you expect that will be a comprehensive talk. So it's just going to be a introduction and then a review from what I have in mind and also what knowledge that I have possessed in the past. So let me just start my talk. Okay. So this is what we have seen in the last 2 years, every day, almost every day, whether it is in your cell phone to your social media, whether WhatsApp or Telegram or something else. Every day we receive that news from our friends or maybe your neighbors. It's hard for us, for everyone. So this is what I have tried to collect from the internet, some past news regarding the shortage of COVID-19 medicine, like the one on the left, the COVID-19, what COVID-19 medication is difficult to find, including when my brother-in-law was sick due to COVID, because it's difficult. We tried to find medication for him, but we cannot. We couldn't really find anything that we can give we could give to him, and then finally he has to die because of the COVID. So, but the problem is the shortage of COVID medication is not the problem in Indonesia that we can find in Indonesia only. It is the problem in everywhere actually. You can find it in the United States, in the UK, and other countries. So it's not merely because we are in Indonesia, developing country, and then we have problem with it. But in the modern country, much developed country, they're facing the same problem also because of the COVID. You can see from the news that I shared to you on the screen. So what is the problem actually? We're facing in Indonesia. The problem is that drugs and drugs raw materials are imported, and most of them are imported. And then when the COVID COVID pandemic comes, then manufacturers stop producing it, or at least producing less, because of the restriction from the government, and also travel ban that caused everything. The production of the drugs, especially the COVID-19 drugs, is also lower than expected. So it's a multi problems that we are facing in the last 2 years. It's not just because because of the travel ban and because of the restriction, and then people cannot go to work. We have been having the same problem. This is in the last 2 years until now, and then we are working from home. And what happened when people working from home, but we expect them to produce medication? It will be difficult for everyone. So that's one of the problems. And also distribution problems. This is the problem that we are facing over and over the years. One of them is because of the reporting period is too long. I will talk about about this more in the next few pages. But I just want to share you that the distribution is problem. Yeah, even in the United States or other countries, it's still a problem. This is other problems, but it's just not my concern right now. But I'm just sharing to you that you get notice of it. We are in Indonesia. You know, we and you and me. We always hesitant of what or which drugs are for COVID-19 treatment. Mostly because of the post that is shared in the social media like WhatsApp or Telegram or maybe Facebook. Yeah. So we don't really know. We don't really know uh, which drug is actually effective or suggested for us. Yeah, that's a big problem. So everyone is trying to guess, to make a guess, or to make a suggestion to someone else without having solid ground. Why do we have to take certain medication? So that's a big problem too. And then also in terms of policy, there's uncertainty over drug distribution and whether or not the drugs can be bought with or without doctor's prescription. It is not rare to find that, you know, in our everyday life, that restricted drugs are purchased without prescription. If you go to the pharmacy store or to drugstore, you will find, or you will often see, that something that is restricted is you can buy it without having to show any prescription. That is dangerous in some way, or in many ways. We don't really know. This is the problem that is faced in the U.S. Regarding this. There is unexpected increase in demand for critical medication. This is during pandemic. And of course, and there is a disruption also in the production. So this is the international problem, global problem. Yeah, every country face the same problem. And then delayed regulatory oversight of medication production, and then some inadequate supply chain planning and management, even in the U.S. So that's a couple of problems that I can find in the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health report. You can find it in the URL that I shared at the bottom of the slide. You can read more there, the more complete version of the report. Okay, so what have been done by the government of Indonesia? What solutions are currently implemented? So this is the e-report PBF. PBF stands for Pedagang Besar Farmasi or wholesalers. So the PBF or the wholesalers are requested and mandated to report their distribution of drugs periodically, but it's three monthly, every 3 months. So it is not real time. What happened if we don't have a real time report? So it could be something that is obsolete. The information is not valid anymore. So I will talk about that more. And then there's also an effort to establish a website named Obat COVID-19 PBF, Kemkes.go.id, which you can actually check whether or not the COVID-19 medication is available in your area. The problem is website states clearly that it is not real time. Again, it is not real time. So if you think if you see on the website now that there is 100 dosage of medication in your area, close to you, or on the warehouse close to you, or in the pharmacy close to you. But when you go there, it's nothing there. It's because it's not real time. So there's a big problem also. So, and then the government also established the National Pharmacy Information Center, the PONAS, which you can check on it. It provides information such as the Informatorium Obat Nasional Indonesia. It is like a catalog, or maybe it's like a wiki, like Wikipedia for medication that is distributed in Indonesia. So if you get if you having a stomach ache, and then you have heartburn, or you have headache, or you have, I don't know, maybe eyes irritation or something like that. Everything is documented in the Indonesian National Pharmacy Book. You can find information right there for every single medication that is distributed in Indonesia. And then you can also use the check BPOM, checkbpom.co.id, in which you can check whether the medication that you are having, or you are buying, or you are getting from the pharmacy, or from the doctor, or from someone else, is really registered in the BPOM. BPOM is like the FDA in the US, the Food and Drug Administration. This is the website that I have talked previously. You can type the registration number, or you can type your name, the name of the medication. Sorry. And this is the availability of the COVID-19 medicine. But once again, as we are mentioning here, the stock data is not real time. So yeah, it is a good effort, but not enough. And then what else the government have done? The barcode 2D in product track and trace, and they established the track and trace anti-counterfeiting product control system, or TTAC, where you actually the industry, the pharmacy industry, or the manufacturer of medicine, they have to start from 2018. They have to start printing the part in 2D. Maybe you are familiar with the QR code. You're familiar with the QR code. That's the one that is mandated by the BPOM to be done by the manufacturer of the medication. The barcode will contain the number of registration, the number in izin edar, or distribution number registration, and then the product name, and then brand, packaging, and so on. That's the barcode 2D that is mandated by the government. During the disaster, this is the channel, the way that the drug is distributed. The first one is from the drug manufacturer. They sell it to the wholesaler, and then wholesaler sell it or deliver to the hospital, pharmacy, or drugstore, and then consumer or patient will come to the store and then buy the medication, or directly, or they'll visit the health facilities to get make a consultation with the doctors or health professionals, and then recommended or receive a prescription to buy certain drugs. That's the first flow. And then the second one is the from the drug manufacturer and then to the armed forces. This is interesting because it only happens during the pandemic. The drug manufacturer is allowed to send or deliver drug to the armed force, and then the armed force will send it to the Puskesmas or the district health center, and then the patient visit the district health center will get the drugs from the health center. And then the third one is the drug manufacturer send it to the wholesaler and then to the pharmacy store, and then consumer using the telemedicine, and then got a prescription or maybe receive a suggestion from the health professionals, and then he will be sent the drug directly from the pharmacy, which are collaborating with the telemedicine. So it's easier for the consumer with the need to go out of their house. They can still receive a drug without having going up to from their house. This is the telemedicine that is allowed to operate during the pandemic in Indonesia. There are 11 of them. The Hello Doctor, Get Well, Good Doctor, HelloDoc, and so on. So yeah, let's do that right quick. Oops. Okay, so from what the government have done, what are the shortfalls? This is what I can write down. The first one is the risk of errors and inaccuracies due to what? Due to the manual reportings, the web entry and spreadsheet upload. That's what is done in the e-report PDF, the one that I previously showed you in the previous slide. So it's manual reportings, and then the nature of the data reportage. Also, it's summary data instead of granular data. And it is not, again, it's not real time. And then it's relied too heavily on the human. So if the human who type the number, whether it is in the spreadsheet or directly on the web application, make mistake. If they make mistake, then it will, you know what happened. Suppose if there is, suppose there are 100 stocks, and then someone mistyped it 1,000. That's a huge difference. So it is a problem. And then the second one is that I mentioned earlier. The risk of obsolete data and information, because it's not real time. It's three monthly, which is fairly unacceptable, especially during the difficult time, such as what happened right now. 3 months is not acceptable, right? I believe you agree with me. So the current 2D barcode answers the problem of counterfeiting, but it's not solved yet the problem of products untraceability. We cannot really government actually, because the government is the stakeholder of this distribution. The one who really responsible for all the people is the government. So they cannot trace in real time. Many stocks actually on the on the pharmacies, in the warehouses, in the hospitals. Yeah, they really have problems with that. And it happens also in the United States. So I think this problem will provide us with a lot of opportunity, wide opportunity for everyone interested in trying to solve the problems. So in the next few slides, I will show you how I think the graph database will have possibility to provide answer or to help providing answer. Let me start with this, the pharmaceutical distribution ecosystem. This is the report that is provided by Deloitte in 2019. Comprehensive. You can find it online by looking at by visiting the URL that I provide down below. So this is not stealing from any way. This is publicly available, so it's not stealing. So from what you can see here in the United States, pretty much the same thing that happened in Indonesia, I believe. The patient, and then the pharmacy store or drugstore, and then distributor or the wholesaler, and then also the manufacturer, how they related. This is the comprehensive report. I strongly suggest you to, if you are interested in this area, strongly suggest you to visit the URL and then download the materials. It provides us with the insights of how the drug is distributed across the US. So let's go back to our the FDA recommend that FDA should I'm sorry, I repeat. The Johns Hopkins School of Public Health in their pandemic supply chain report in 2020, they recommend that FDA is the BPOM in Indonesia, should timely disclose and mitigate demand-driven and local label store dates. Among 6, I highlighted 2, and then we skip to number 3. To strengthen the global supply chain, the FDA should establish a database of approved manufacturers of active pharmaceutical ingredients. There's another recommendation from the FDA. And then number 6, the federal government should stand up a comprehensive effort to assess and manage the U.S. pharmaceutical supply chain. So even in the U.S., there is a recommendation for the federal government to really stand up, to really do comprehensive effort in assessing and managing the pharmaceutical supply chain. So that's in the US. In Indonesia, of course, we need more. In the US, they need to do that. In Indonesia, we have to do that. We have to do it. So if Bapak Ibu, everyone here, participants of the seminar, would like to get interested in trying to solve the same problem, that will be good for Indonesia, I think, and for the world, I believe. This is the flow of medication in Indonesia from the manufacturer. So it's pretty much the same as the one that I have shown previously in the US. From the manufacturer, and then they will send it to the pharmaceutical wholesalers, and then the drugs will flow into the pharmacy, and then to the hospital, and then to the district health center or puskesmas, and then the health clinic, and then the toko obat or the drugstore. The difference between toko obat and apotheke, yeah, both of them actually is pharmacy, but the difference is for the apotheke, they provide prescribed and non-prescribed pharmacy or medication, but for the drugstore only for non-prescribed medication. So that's the difference. And then the drug will flow into the consumer. As my title, this is the drug distribution chain in Indonesia. Let's start with the one on the left. This is the manufacturer of drug, and then the manufacturer of drug produce drug, and then they will deliver. They will deliver it through the using the truck or other means or other transportation mode to the wholesaler warehouses. And then from the whole wholesaler warehouse will be distributed to the hospital, to the pharmacy or drugstore. And then from the hospital and the drugstore, it will be consumed by the patients or the consumer. If you take a look at the circle, the green circle and kind of yellow and gray circle, the yellow, the green circle on the left, right left, I believe it's already been done. Has been done for a long time now. So everything that comes out of the manufacturer, I believe it is scanned or it is recorded in some way. Because if they don't do that, then I don't know how are they going to manage that. How are they going to manage the inventory inside the manufacturer warehouse? So I believe that happen. So I put green on it. This is so the circle you can think of it as a suspicion, And then if we look at here down here, the sorry right here. Here, yeah, right here the written the written drugs, because we cannot always guarantee that all the products that delivered to the customer or to the hospital will be in a good condition. So there's always a possibility for written drugs. And I do not believe that every single wholesaler warehouse have recorded it in using a technology that that is capable of if you need the report in a quick manner, and then they will provide it quickly. I don't think that's that happened in every single warehouse. So I just put a yellow and gray circle on there. And then also from the wholesale to the pharmacy drugstore, I believe in some ways on some delivery they are still done by papers. So is not using the technology yet. So, and also the patient, the consumer, currently they can check the validity of the drug permit. So if they receive any drug, then they would like to know whether it is valid or not. They can go to the website or they can download the mobile version of the application and then scan the barcode to see whether it is valid or not. That is good for tackling the counterfeit problem. And also, from the patient, they can also contact the medicine. If you can see here, they can contact telemedicine. The telemedicine will contact the pharmacy or drugstore, and drugstore will deliver the drug to the patients. The problem is we're not sure yet, because we can see if we go to the pharmacy, we're not sure. I don't think they have all of them, at least all of them. I don't think all of them have tried to have certain way electronically. What I mean is electronically to record the transaction electronically, right? So they have they usually use the paper and then make a record of what drugs come out and what drugs come in, something like that. In many pharmacies and drugstores, it still happen like that. So what I mean is, though, if we are not trying to solve this problem, then we will never have the capability of looking into the system and answers precisely how many stocks that actually out there. So that will be difficult. So the ideal version of it is like this. This is the ideal version. So everything is connected to the device. Yeah. Especially we are now in the IoT era, where you can actually attach the IoT device into anything. You can attach it to the packaging. You can attach it to the truck. You can attach it to the product itself. You can pretty much attach to everything. And then with the arrival of 5G technology, and then I believe it can be done in the future with a cheaper price. And then when that happens, our hope that we can always look at the system, we can always monitor the real number of the drugs on the market will happen. That's what what I believe will happen in the future. If we want to do that, if everyone is trying to solve the problem. And then this is my view of the drug and medicine stakeholders and roles. So there are so many stakeholders involved, from the drug manufacturer itself, and then the registrant company. The registrant company is the company who register the medication or the medication produced by manufacturer to have permit, distribution permit from the PPOM or the FDA of Indonesia. And then also the health ministry. Health ministry usually from the application that I have shown you in the previous slide, the EPPF requires every wholesaler requires every wholesaler to make a report, even though it is still 3 monthly. And then the wholesaler itself hold the medicine or the medication, and then dispatch it to the drugstore, and then to the hospital, to the health clinic, to the district health center or puskesmas. So there are so many so many stakeholders here. And then this is the example of a graph model that I have tried to draw. It's pretty much the same, almost the same with the one that I drew earlier. So that's why I believe that the graph database, because of its nature, the nature of connected connection, because graph database really are trying to optimize the structure of the network, next structure of graph. And because the supply chain, drug supply chain, is almost the same as this network, then maybe we can come out with solution when we use the graph database. This is a bit more detailed model from the previous one. You can actually see the warehouse and drugstore connection. Yeah, we can make it complex, more complex, more complicated, it depends on the requirement. Just trying to draw something here. Maybe it depends on the policy. It depends on the policy that is made by the government. Just how many times the frequency of report, whether it is monthly or it is weekly or bi-weekly or daily or even real time. It depends. But I believe the government have the power to ask everyone to do that, or to order everyone in the drug supply chain ecosystem to comply with the rule that is by the government. So this is another instance. This is the instance of partial drug supply chain model. What I mean by instance is example. Okay, I'll skip that part. So to try to make it well, tries to get a really good look at the graph, then I try to prepare the data model in the relationship in the SQL, and then uploading the schema to the PLDB, setting the randomizer. This is just the steps that I have taken to try to make simulated data so that we can look at the graph just like the one that I also you here. This is the PLDB web application. You can actually visit the web by yourself, and you generate your data, then setting the randomizer, and then you will get the data that you need with of course with all the restriction, limitation that it has. This is the loading of data to the database, and this is the result. This is the result of the database that I have uploaded into the Neo4j graph database. As you can see here, we can see that the warehouse here, the one warehouse number 3117 dispatch. The yellow one is dispatch. Dispatch node. There are nodes of warehouse here. The warehouse 3117. Dispatch the drug. That's a drug to the hospital. If you want to take closer look to the node to 20443, 20443. This is the node of dispatch. If you want to take a look more, this is the 20443. Breaks down, and then we will see that for the dispatch or the shipment of 2443 or 20443 contains drug temporary something. The name of drugs, of course, is only simulation, was generated for the sake of the the simplicity. So using this graph, actually, we can do a lot of things, but that's beyond scope of this talk because of the time limitation. So this is that I have previously also mentioned that with the arrival of 5G, with the speed of maybe 10 to 100 times of 4G, there is a big possibility that it can be really done in the future. If the device is available, then the government needs to capitalize by providing policies and then technological approach, so that everyone involved in the supply chain ecosystem comply with the standard, comply with the rule. So it will ease the government in making in deciding and analyzing data to especially during the disaster or during the bad time, to try to solve the problem of the drug shortage, just like what happened in the other country. And also with the IoT, you can attach it everywhere. It will help a lot if in the future there are many researchers trying to solve this problem using the IoT. I think that will wrap up my presentation. To end my presentation. Thank you. Time is return it to you, Ms. Kiranti.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Iwan, for very attractive presentations. Okay, so now let's move to the second keynote speaker before we go to the discussions. So before I start to begin the second keynote speaker presentations, let me greeting. Good morning, Dr. Saud.
Yes, good morning. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, so before I let Dr. Saud to give a presentations for today's international conference, so let me allow you to know some information about Dr. Saud.
Okay, thank you.
May I share a screen? Share screen? Okay, so this is a little bit information about our second keynote speaker. So Dr. Muhammad Saud. She's a young researcher based in South and East Asia, and then he's the author of studies in youth political, especially in NGO. It's quite interesting to talk about the national government organizations. And also, she has contributed to a series of youth development projects, in particular, especially on health and education. And now he is working with a think tank to promote youth and the main indicator of social change in the democratic society. So this is the academic record. So Dr. Saud spent his bachelor and master degree on sociology 2010 to 2017 on International Islamic University, Islamabad, Pakistan. And he also spent his doctoral philosophy on 2017 until 2020 on Erlangga University. So a little bit information. I'm also Erlangga University graduations. So I also spent my bachelor degree on Universitas Erlangga also.
Glad to know. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Saud. It's quite interesting for me to talk here for the second day of international conference. So this is the experience of Dr. Saud. So in 2012, she is the leadership or associate on Russia Pakistan. In 2016, she is an associate for social development Islamabad, Pakistan. And then on 2019 until now, he is a lecturer in sociology, specialist in Department of Social Faculty of Social and Political Science, Erlangga University, Surabaya, Indonesia. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to welcome our second keynote speaker, Ms. Dr. Muhammad Saud. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Muhammad Saud. Time is yours, and the time for presentation is 30 minutes.
Thank you so much. Really good morning to everybody. Thank you, Pa Rector, and one of my best friend from your committee, Dr. Zainal Abidin. I'm really grateful for your contributions to this conference, and I was listening the presentation for Pa Irwan, and that was really interesting regarding disaster and communications. That what we do and what we learn from every day from each other. Okay, well, back to the point. Let me share my presentation. So the discussion of today's topic is how the social support, cohesion, and community resilience basically helping in supporting the community at larger level. We also had a work that how the social media basically giving the social support during the COVID, issues. Because you know that in majority of the cases, the medicines or the practitioners or the public health practitioners, they are working to giving the awareness and also supporting for the vaccination. But on the other side, what the social scientists basically doing to enhance the social support, cohesion, and are developing the integration with the community. So we have to talk today about it. We should know that what are the pandemic's effects to our society. So we assume that as it's been a 2 year, right? Since November 2019, we are still in a pandemic of COVID. So what are the effects of COVID we have faced so far? So similarly, like we say that the social, political, economic effects is one of the major concern, and as well as the health issues that we have have faced in this society, whether it's Indonesia, whether it's in Pakistan, whatever the country is in, everybody have basically effect from it. The spread of COVID-19 has been alarming and affected nearly every community around the globe. And you see that if the society is in Surabaya or if society is in Islamabad, so both are the same at this position. And both the condition that due to the non-availability of the vaccination, the people still facing the issues. So whatever the human mankind has achieved in the name of development, we say that our country, our nations, our world is now developed. We have everything, infrastructure and science, technology, communication. We do have everything, but we need to revisit our decisions, that what we have contributed, because it's been 2 years. We have technology, we have a modern instrument, whatever we have that, but still we are facing the issues of pandemic. So we need to revisit our plannings, policies regarding the health issues. Most of the time in all pandemic or disasters, so the government funding and program are often to force and respond to priority that are shared across entire nations. So the government are providing the facilities, but their priority is sometimes different according to their program and need. The gap between the need of local municipalities, the local administration, and the responses action of government during a disaster can often drive public mistrust, especially in communities without strong social support and cohesion and community resilience. So on the one side, the government is providing the facility or working toward the disaster management. But on the other side, what the community basically doing? So the community is also in the issues of handling or forcing the COVID situation. But the social support and cohesion and the community resilience is still without having a strong communication. So the community engagement and the strong social network are one of the major instrumental way to basically give our social support in the community. Another role is the civic role. When you say that we have a civic engagement in the community, so what the civic engagement can do? Civic engagement basically give you opportunity to have an interaction with the human to human, with community to community, with society to society. You can see that the World Health Organization, how they are facilitating the world. So at the major level, what we can do, because that was a major issue the world have faced, similarly like Indonesia. So civic role were one of the important indicator that help the local communities to settle their ways and create the social cohesion in the community. When we say that social sport, what does it mean? When we divide the sport and the social sport, so it means that the social could be from the human being. So the human being sporting other humans to give a protections, to give awareness, to give a sort of information about the pandemic. So social sport is basically exceptionally important for maintaining good psychological health, maybe physical health, and can give a resource for the disaster recovery, might be some planning, and also help you in pre and post disaster recovery phases. Like you can say that in every year or almost in the decades, if you remember that in historical perspective, like Indonesia, there was many disasters. So those disasters basically was managed by somehow the government, but how about the people? People also was involved in that way. So both the social support and community resilience provide opportunity before a disaster occur, during the acute phase, and in recovery planning to identify and address inequalities. So thus the social support are a main indicator basically that help in process and eliminate or reduces the effect of stress, those who are experiencing the issues in the community. When we say that social support and social cohesion, so the social cohesion basically refer to the degree of social connectedness and solidarity between communities groups. We have a lot of examples that if that is, there are a lot of people, those who are here, so you got the vaccination from different countries. Maybe different countries can send you the vaccination to give to your people. So that is a connectedness, that is a solidarity. People doing donations in the community to support and give economic support because of COVID. People, those who are here in the community, they are facing the economic crisis. And due to the economic crisis, so the other social cohesion sports are helping them to being a stability in the community. So social cohesion, it exists on multiple level organization, from household level to international relation, all of which are intertwined and interconnect with one another. The relationship among individual and communities and the local, regional, and national level government are affected by the social cohesion. So we assume that besides the social support, social cohesion is also one of the important indicator during the sport in COVID-19. And if you see the geographical positions, whether the geographical positions of people don't care, because they say that that is because of human being, so they are helping in disaster the community. Then marginalized community also less likely to have access to opportunities. Those communities, for example, I went to in Tuluagung, and in the Tuluagung there is a pantai, name is Pantai Scene. So at that area, so there is a no facility. So what those community will do? So because of the social cohesion from other people, that communities are helping each other to basically solve their disaster issues. Some consider that COVID-19 to be the first global pandemic in the information sharing age, with lesson to learn from Ebola and Zika virus pandemics. So if you know that in the history, like we have two similar global pandemics, the one is Ebola and other is Zika. So COVID-19 is one that is still, exists in the society. So these lessons primarily include creating formal opportunities for stakeholders to engage and integrate the community and work on how the social cohesion can be take a place in the community. Besides the social support, social cohesion, the third is social capital. So the social capital is the one that is mostly studied in the world regarding the social cohesion within the discovery literature. We assume that like the social cohesion is nothing without the social capital, and the social capital basically introduced by Robert Putnam, and who said that the future of social organization as a network, norm, and trust that facilitate action and cooperation for mutual benefits. So if you have a mutual benefit, like during the disaster, people integrate itself, make the solidarity, make the social cohesion, then they have a set of networks, and that network basically do social action, and those social action basically giving a social support to the community. So the social support has been identified as a key driver of sustainable disaster recovery. At the time of disasters, people are in a panic, in a stress, in a psychological issues. So the social capital is the one who can help in sustainable disaster, and giving a pre-existing positive connection relationship across households, communities, and the level of government at the broader level. When we say that social support, social capital, the social capital has been conceptualized in three things. Bonding social capital comprises the social ties linking people who share social demographic characters. So these are 3 points that we can do in during the disasters. Another is community resilience. So what is the community resilience? During a disaster, refer to a community degree of adaptability to changing circumstances and challenges. So at the time of disasters, so the community integration and reintegration could be helpful to cope with the challenges and circumstances. So during the acute and recovery phases of a disaster, adaptability refer to a community capacity to identify needs as they evolve and apply the necessary resources to address those needs. Because at the time of disaster, we know that sometimes there is a natural disaster like tsunami or something, the water from the sea. So the financial and the social labor force is one of the important at that time. So during the disaster, community resilience is a big source for the society. So the conclusion is that because of the rapid scoping review of today's discussion, evidence from social cohesion, community resilience during a disaster, particularly in the context of a pandemic, highlights and the finding of for the COVID. The key finding from the review demonstrate that social cohesion and community resilience are important resources in the recovery after any disaster. So investment in the social cohesion and community resilience during peaceful and prosperous times is critical to strengthening and leveraging these resources during a crisis. And because there are so many inequalities in our society, so the social support, social cohesion, and social capital is one of the big assets in our society that could be, useful for saving from the disaster, whatever the disaster, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a natural disaster, whatever. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you listen to me.
Okay, thank you very much for Dr. Saud for the presentations. I want to say thank you very much for our post keynote speaker. So now we begin for discussions and answer question sessions. So before we start with the Q&A sessions, actually like, we are very interested with the two topics. So maybe let me give a little bit comment. Just maybe like I'm very curious with the first presenter of Mr. Iwan. So Mr. Iwan, allow me if maybe my statement is incorrect or something. So because like we talk about the supply chains, right? So I'm just a little bit know about the supply chain system, and now our seminar is talking about how to build disaster resilience, especially in pandemic COVID era. So you make what topic is talk about the drug distributions, the drug supply chains. So when you try to compare it with the justice of the government, especially for the drug supply chains justice between Indonesia and US. So Mr. Irwan, so during this pandemic COVID, so like when you try to give us a very high lens about how it should be the supply chains of drug system in Indonesia. And now that we face the pandemic COVID, most of them cannot work from the office. Most of them are work from the homes. So is it suitable that from the result of your research about the drug system of supply chain is applied in Indonesia? What do you think, Mr. Irwan?
Thank you, Miss Nancy. Okay, so this is actually the only work on the process of my research actually. So what I can say is that the technology that is out there today, in what we can see now, is capable of helping the government and everyone involved in the supply chain to work together and then share the data real time, so that everyone can predict, not only predict, actually can see what is the actual number of stocks on the market actually, and then there will be no hesitation from the government whether they need to make another import, or maybe by having the near real time data from all over Indonesia. I think they can make some decision whether to allocate more to the eastern part of Indonesia, or certain part of Indonesia, or certain area in the East Java, for example. So it is not beyond our reach actually. As long as the governments are willing to make SOP or whatever they name it, maybe the undang-undang or the, I don't know, maybe the BPOM, apa namanya, what is the call of the Food and Drug Administration of Indonesia, if they can make some kind of rule that is founded to be complied by the all the stakeholders of in the supply chain, then it will be good for us, because that's the problem of our society in the past 2 years, because we cannot really know. Even the doctors who I asked the doctors during my in the last 3 months or 4 months, I believe. Yeah, I tried to call the doctors. Can you provide us with the certain medication that I named? And then we cannot. We don't know. They said we didn't know whether it is exists in the market. They are difficult. They have difficulties. They have difficulties to find information also, the same as us. So that's a problem.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know whether
like
it's answer your questions. Sorry.
yeah, actually it's quite interesting. Is answer my question. So actually like you mentioned about like, you know, almost people in Indonesia, they don't know about this talk of drugs in Indonesia because of like we don't know how to find out about this drug is exists or not, or because like during the pandemic it's quite difficult for us to find out the drugs, especially like you know the productions of the drug is getting decreased, and yeah, maybe like while we try to find information whether in pharmacy or in the hospital, so we don't have, if we don't have any access, so we don't know the drug is exists or not, and we cannot avoid the drugs. Actually,
Right.
it's very interesting to discuss. But before I
Yes.
continue my questions,
Okay.
I will deliver the question from the participants. Yeah, so let me deliver the question to Mr. Iwan from Rusdi Hidayat. So there is a very large gap in the health technology system in the country progress and develop. In your opinion, how to address gaps in the World Health Program in development sustainable goals?
Okay. So I think there are certain technologies that is really high level, if I can say like that, and also a kind of low level technology. So I believe for many of us in Indonesia, and for the for us to deliver it to the society quickly, we just need to eye the low level, not really low level technology, but technology that is not that is readily applicable to the society, such like the IoT. I think many lecturers in the faculty of computer science in UPN, I think they have done a lot of research in the IoT, and this is not really high. I mean, if you want to apply the technology to the supply chain, suppose like that, then you don't have to really have a certain level of the high level or high quality laboratory, something like that. You don't have it. You don't need to have that one. What I mean. So you just need to allocate resource, and then ask them to to study the materials that is provided freely on the internet, and then provide some funding just to to make it get and going, but not without it's not outside our boundary. So I believe if we choose this kind of technology, I think we can feel we can close the gap, not really close, but closer. I mean the gap between us and between us and the modern or developed country.
Mm. Okay, thank you, Mr. Iwan, for the answer. Even not too close, but as long as getting closer is much more better.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the second question to Mr. Iwan also. So please explain whether the application or model that you described about the supply chains can be used in agriculture, especially for distribution of crops or the seller and to the consumer.
Yes, I believe yes. Yeah. If I'm not misheard the question, with it asks whether the technology is suitable for agriculture, right? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, actually, the IoT technology is suitable for almost anything, because the thing is that IoT is just like a device that has internet in it. So as long as you have connection to the internet, then you will be fine. You will be fine. You can attach it on your clothes. You can attach it to your cell phone. Your cell phone is part of the IoT. I mean, you can put it in your pen, or maybe your, I don't know, it's almost anything. So that's open up many possibilities for application in our daily life, including the application in the agriculture area, such as the when we talk about distribution, because we have problem also in the agricultural area regarding the distribution of uh, what the you call the pupuk. What is the pupuk? I'm not really in that area, so I'm not.
The agricultural product.
Yes, the agricultural product or something. So there is a problem with that also. So if you can actually put the IoT, and then it will send data along the way, so we can really have real-time data about the product that is being delivered to certain cities or certain warehouses or certain stores. That will be good. Not
Okay, so
mentioning application in other areas.
Yes. So maybe because because like the model is about distributions and supply chains, so I think that many things, such as whether it's not only about drug, it's not only about engineering, it's also about agriculture, so it can be applied in any kind of activities. Okay, thank you, Mr. Iwan. So maybe Dr. Saud.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Saud. So maybe like there is one thing that we are very interested with the topic that we have brought up in this international seminar. So you talk about the public trust. So let's try to connect about the disaster reliance with the public trust. So Dr. Saud, when you talk about the public trust, so in this pandemic era, when the governments make a justice or make a new rules, it's just like make public to be a mistrust with the governments. So with this, it can be like with what is it? Like what you said, a social capital, or maybe social cohesion, and also social support. How to keep the public trust during the pandemic era?
Well, that's very interesting questions. You know, in majority of the cases, people have a lack of trust with the government. You know, so I think so. That is very important aspect, that when we talk about the social support, then social capital, community resilience. So hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Saud?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, it's clear. So one of the major aspects is that the government and the public usually have the mistrust, and
Mhm.
there are a lot of promises from the government, from Pamarinta or from the state to make development and such promises. And once they will not complete the promises, then of course the people will not trust on the government.
Mm.
That but if he's doing the good way, they will criticize it. But this is the beauty of the democracy. We say that it is the beauty of the democracy when people are criticizing their governments or their state. So the mistrust is always persist in the society. So the better idea is that the better suggestion is that the government should include the local communities to make such policies. So the participatory approach to with the government and with the public should be at the same level. So there should be no hidden decisions come from the government.
Okay. I don't know whether you heard informations heard in Indonesia. Do you ever heard the issue of PPKM in Indonesia, Dr. Saud?
Uh,
PPKM issue?
Maybe that was about the policy on
Um,
COVID or something.
yeah, the policy for COVID. I mean, like we should there is a justice about having a boundaries activity, not boundaries.
Oh, fundraising activity. I see.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it is like I take what cases in Indonesia. So maybe it's there is a correlate with the social
Mistrust.
social mistrust.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
in Indonesia, like when government give justice of give rules about the PPKM in Indonesia. So when they just say that the PPKM level will only have just 2 weeks, and then they make it longer again, another 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks, and then it's never ends. So like the Indonesian people will get a mistrust with the government. But I know that government rules, government justice is always want to want to decrease the number of pandemic COVID by having rules or justice for the society. Even it's quite difficult for the society to do like restrictions activity or something. So Dr. Saud, based on the sociologist, how maybe like how for the society to receive the justice or receive the rules by governments to reduce the number of pandemic COVID.
Actually, it is very,
yeah.
yes, I got your point. It is very difficult for the government because the pandemic is not like we said at the pre-disaster. So if there is any natural disaster, sometimes the governments know that this is a place of like Lombok. Lombok is the area in Indonesia, and where there was a volcano there, volcano eruption. So people sometimes know that, oh, there is a place for volcano. But before the pandemic, governments are not ready because they don't know what is the viral infection for the people. So I think what I discussed in my presentation that the government should invest more on health issues. So they are not well prepared for making or facilitating the government, facilitating the public. So the best idea is that to reduce the corruption as well. So they should make a mechanism in all over the country. This is the same criticism, like you said, that the funding of the COVID. This is the same situation in India, Pakistan as well. The public are criticizing the government that you took the money from the COVID resources, from the COVID funds. So that is a common discussion is there. And when we say about the injustice, so injustice is still prevail in the society because our society is democratic, and we are not sure about what is the right. So the local participation, local community integration is very important.
Okay, so we talk about this is just the disaster. Actually, this is pandemic COVID-19 is a health disaster, and it's also the world. I mean, we talk about the world, but the global. Actually, the world ever had the same experience about the health disaster. So let's take a look about the Spanish influence, and then about Ebola or something. It was a health disaster. So what do you think? I think that the world is a global. They are very, what is it? They cannot prepare with the COVID-19. Even we already had the experience before. So what we just don't learn about the experience before about the health disaster.
Yes, that is a difficult time. We know that that we say that the Spanish fever was very, popular at that time. So at the main time, what we can recommend that we say that the social support, the social capital, and the social cohesion is one of the important indicator for the communities. Government have to do to provide the facilities to their people, but what the people is doing with each other, that is one of the important aspect as well.
Okay. Actually, like it's a very interesting to discuss, but let me deliver one question for our participant. Actually, this is from Mr. Zainal Abidin. So he wants to ask you something. So there are social stratifications in Asian society, from low-level income, low-level educations to medium and higher. I think Indonesia and Pakistan have the same culture background, according to your research and experience. And which level of the society that we could push more on giving educations about COVID-19?
The social stratification in the society is very, common. In fact, whatever the society in Asia, whether the Indonesian, whether the Pakistan, so social stratification prevails because both have the same background. Like Hinduism was the very popular in Indonesia as well as in Pakistan as well in the historical perspectives. So I think so. During that we are educationists, Dr. Zainul Abidin is one of my best friend and he's very famous in communication studies. So I think so the best way is that we can educate people regarding it. We can think that people should be without the social stratification, without the social status, people can meet and greet with people, having a social interaction with the communities, and having during the disaster, people should go and support each other, having a community engagement. Having enough money is not that you are rich or you are, elite. So if you are connected with the community, that is the one we should promote in our societies to reduce the causes of social stratification in the society. So the educationists can promote the peace, can give the respect to everybody in the community, either poor, either rich, whatever that. So should we perform the same?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Saud. Okay, so maybe this is still the same presenter who wants to ask questions now is to Mr. Irwan. This is all the questions from Mr. Zainal Abidin, Mr. Irwan. So, Mr. Irwan, you have mentioned some problems in preparing health and medicine database by Indonesian governments. What is exactly the easiest solutions to handle this problem? Is it about unconnected informations and bad coordinations between the Ministry of Health featuring the Ministry of Communication and Informations?
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to answer that question. I believe there is no such thing as easiest solution. Every solution needs lots of, at least thought, and then resource. So, it's kind of difficult. I'm trying to, in one of my slides, there was a slide that is shared by the Deloitte, the role of distributors in the U.S. Healthcare industry in 2019 report. In that picture, there is a dark block. What I mean by dark block is they are the people or the organization who are not really who don't really connect directly with the patient, but they play vital role in deciding the price and everything. So I think that's what happens in Indonesia as well. So let me name one of the organization that is mentioned in the Deloitte report. The name of organization is the, I don't know whether this is organization or not, but it's called the PBM. The PBM is not formal organization. The PBMs negotiate discounts with manufacturers and then develop clinical formulary programs to determine which pharmaceuticals will be available to their members. And then there's also the TPO, and this is another non-formal organization again. The TPOs aggregate purchasing volume from pharmacies and providers to negotiate discounts. Again, this is to negotiate discounts on prices and offer educational support and programs. So this certain organization, even though it's not, play certain roles in the what's called the supply chain or the medication distribution and ecosystems. They play a vital role, and in Indonesia, I think there are organizations or certain power who also play in that area. So it would be difficult for the government to really, to really know because of this action, because of the activities of this organization. It prevents the government from getting the information, the real information from the market. So I believe with the application of technology and also the power of the crowd, in this era, we are familiar with the terms of crowdsourcing, crowd power, something like that. If we can make such a system which will give the ability of the government to get direct data from the society, from the people, from the public, then it will complete the gap that the government have if they only rely on the system or that the system that they have currently. So I think in the future, I believe in the future, if we can get together, the society and the government, that's why the UPN is now thinking about such a platform to connect the government, industry, and then the society and the university to get together to solve that kind of problem. I think we still have hope that it will be a better future for Indonesia if we can get together like that. Sorry if it's too long. Sorry.
No. We do really need that kind of information to make it clear about how is the government's positions in this pandemic era, especially for the drug distributions. So, Mr. Elwine, maybe I'm sorry if I come back for our previous discussions about the distributions of drugs in Indonesia during COVID-19. As we know that it's very difficult for Indonesian people to get or to access the drugs during the pandemic COVID-19, especially on the latest of 2020 and then for the first of 2021. Because most of the people around me who got COVID, they are very difficult to get the drugs or to get the medicine. It's not only because maybe you heard the issues about that the medicine of COVID-19 is decreased while the high number of people in Indonesia got COVID-19. And then finally, that what you have to before, there are some like hello doctor or something.
Yes.
they gave us a facility to access the medicine easier. So we don't need to go to hospital, or we don't need to go to the pharmacy to get the medicines. So, Mr. Iwan, in your opinion, so do you think that nowadays, you know that our number of COVID is decreased? So, you think that the government is already success to handle outbreak of drug distributions during the COVID-19?
Yes. Okay. I think the government used to have that kind of problem, difficult problem to provide the the medical supplies. But I think with the PKKM and then trying to restrict people from going out, and then slowly but sure, when you stop people from going out, and then the case of the COVID is slowing down, it decreases, and then so the government has time to produce or to import the medication that they need to be provided to the society. So I cannot really say whether the government have solved the problem of distribution or not, but I don't think they have done that yet. Yeah, it's just a matter of policy, because when the demand is high, the demand for the medicine is high because of so many cases of COVID-19. But when you stop people from going out, and then COVID-19 patients are slowing down and then decrease, and then the supplies, the medicine supplies, the right moment, then it looks like you actually able to manage the distribution. I don't think that's we can say that as a success of in tackling the distribution issues, even though they have actually extend the way that people can get the medication from the using the telemedicine, and also using the armed forces. If we want to make sure that in the future, if there is such the same or similar disaster, just like we are having right now, to make sure that it's not going to really pay attention to the distribution ecosystem, and then make sure that the data, the deliver, everything that is come out of the warehouse is recorded and then reported to the government. Then everything that is coming into the pharmacies or health clinic or hospital is also recorded. So it's kind of so that the government can check when there are 100 containers, say like that, or 100 package of COVID-19 medicine come out of warehouse A, suppose like that, and then deliver to hospital B. Then the government needs to know, to tap on the data, how many is sent from the warehouse, and how many received by the hospital, and how many are in good condition, and how many are in a bad condition. So only by doing that, the government will really know what needs to be done, and combined with the data from the health department or from the information ministry, or I don't know which department actually responsible for the data, but at the current, I think it's the health department. Combined with the data of patients in that area, and that is reported also in timely manner, I believe the government will have the power to make a better decision than what we have done in the
Okay.
past.
Okay, so I think that government also has a policy about how to cure, how to face the problem about the data, really the real-time data. It's not that about actually about the distribution. So like when there is COVID patients, give informations that they are on the positive COVID, and then the
Mhm.
drug is not directly come to them, but is come a week or 2 weeks after they are not positive anymore. So I
Mhm.
think that
Mhm.
yeah, it's still have homework for the governments about the distribution system. I mean, like it's not directly goes to them, but there are very delayed
Yes,
the
yes, exactly.
medicine. Okay, so
Mhm.
Mr. Iwan, actually, like we also stream on YouTube, so I'm going to read some comment on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, so there are some students or some participants give comments about your presentations. From Nanda Eka Prasetya, the problem is drugs, and drugs raw material are imported. Manufacturers stop producing or producing less due to restrictions. Raw material banned travel. One of the commenters. And then what more? Rizal Firmansyah. I agree with the first speaker's statements. The speaker presented about the problem of drug shortage during the pandemic and the drug distributions problem, and solutions such as a RICS. Okay, so actually there are a lot, but maybe you want more. Berliana Firli is very informative when we can know about drug shortage increase during the pandemic, so we can save our body healthy and many more actually. But I'm very
Mhm.
curious about the first comments from Nanda. When we talk about the drugs, so yeah, he said about problem is drugs. Drugs raw material are imported. Manufacturers stop producing or producing less due to restrictions and banned travel. So we also has that kind of a problem actually. So while during pandemic COVID-19, the productions of medicines in Indonesia is less in productions, and we have to import some things. Do you have that kind of any comment or any statements from Nanda?
Yes, actually, that's what written in my slide.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, the drugs in Indonesia, especially the drugs to COVID, I think most of them is still from import. We get it from the
Oh, okay.
and then and also the drugs raw materials. Oh, Indonesia actually is able to produce such drugs, but the material itself comes from abroad. So that's why it's still it depends too much on the other countries. That's what the statement of the government. I think many times the presidents, I think, mentioned it several times that we need to reduce our dependency to outside to the other countries. I think that's also the big problem for us also
Okay.
during the pandemic.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ilwan. So
Okay.
there is a question from Mrs. Indrawati Hertina. This is from Dr. Saud. So Dr. Saud, there is a question from Miss Indrawati. Interesting presentations. So what is the strategy for people to accept the impact of pandemic, not frustrated and get innovated to do a new way, a new era?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's very nice question. You know, during the COVID, one of the good strategy was the online communication that we are today for the virtual conference, right?
Okay.
So for the government, maybe there should be a lot of strategies we we can say that the government should pre-plan their health, emergencies. They can prepare a plan for like emergency funds to basically protect their citizens. But on the other side, so there are many other strategies as well, like online communication, like people doing job or doing work from home. So these kind of similar strategies could be helpful. And the other is one of the important is that the economic, strategy, because okay, if you think that there is no possibility of health sport, but on the other side there should be economic support as well to the people, those who are living in the society. um, like they are unemployed, they don't have the job, they don't have the resources, like in Indonesia, people those who doing the job as a Grab and Gojek. So what they will do, so there is no passenger there, so that might be a strategy to basically support these type of people, those are doing a low job. Thank you.
Okay, so the other side actually is quite interesting when we talk about the pandemic effect. So when we talk about how to motivate ourselves during the pandemic effect, because a lot of many people in the world getting burned out during the pandemic effect. So based on you, based on the sociology, how to avoid the burnout during the work from home or during the pandemic COVID, because we got stuck. We only stay at home. We don't meet, we don't have any interactions direct interactions with people. We only see the PC, we only see the laptop, the phone. We don't meet people directly. So how to avoid that?
That we during the COVID, if we are doing work from home, then we have faced a lot of psychological and social issues while staying at home. So I think so. People was busy in working from home, having a very weak interaction with the local community, and they have a two side of viewpoint regarding it. Before that, people those who was doing a job in a normal routine, they don't have time for their families, right? But due to the COVID, so now they have enough time for their families to spend to talk to each other. But they face a psychological issues, like for example, there was a one study they researched that those who was living at their homes, so they face domestic violence. So these type of issues should be handled, and I think that is the internal social issue. When we say that the domestic social issue, that should be come up with some strategies, and that strategies should be applying in the households. So we should be in a passion, we should be in open minded to accept the challenges that we are facing in the society as well. So that we should work on it, because there are so many psychological cases that we are listening in our everyday society due to the people those who are staying at their homes.
Okay. Dr. Sao, there is a comment on our YouTube, so we also getting streaming via YouTube. So this is a question from Sarah Tri Amberini. Okay. So what's the meaning of rely too heavily on human in the statement of a risk of error and inaccuracies? Because as we know that we need each other to survive on these conditions.
So what do you mean? What is the comment?
What's the meaning of rely too heavily on human in the statements of risks of errors and inaccuracies?
Oh, rely to human being.
Yeah. Yes.
That is what we can say, that like if there is any disaster, and at the disaster, what people do, they used to support each other. But in some cases, so those who are supporting, they are basically stealing the resources as well. So there are two set of minds, those who are supporting each other. The one is that who wants helping to the local community and creating a social cohesion and creating the community engagement. But on the other side, the people, those who are there, so they are not aware regarding it. They are not interested to help. So I think so we should promote the work of civic engagement, as I discussed in my presentation, that we should have a civic role in the community to giving a social support and giving help to each other, whether you are belong to any community, whether you are Javanese, Sundanese, whether you are African, Black, Papuan, or whatever that. Don't care about that. Just think about the human being, and naturally that when if there any disaster, so people used to come and support each other. And the concept of volunteerism is very high in Indonesian communities. I still think that they are so much volunteer, and their volunteerism spirit is more high as compared to others.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe
Yes.
because like our time is up,
Yes.
so maybe I do really wanna I have your last advice or maybe last comment for our participant today. So based on our internet conference on building disaster resilience through database and literacy advisement. So maybe from Mr. Awan, do you have something to say for your last for your close statements in today's international conference for our participants?
Great. Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. So I believe that we as a country, we can, you can work together from, multi-discipline, because we are going to have. It's not always certain, but I don't know how to say that. But I believe this kind of disaster has a big possibility to happen also in the future. We don't know when, but I'm quite sure that's because of the ring of fire and natural things that is typical of Indonesia. So this kind of emergency situation, disaster situation, we need to prepare more to face it, and you have to really, you have to really identify what is exactly the problem with the in term of the supply chain. What is the problem with the distribution of medicine, or even other things? Because that happens, it is our problem maybe 10, 20 years ago, and it is still the problem now. That is so, silly in some way, because the technology is there. And to help, we just need to, to propose, to suggest to the government, and also involving ourselves to try to, to contribute to the solving the problem of the supply chain of medication, and also other food, or maybe some of the agricultural issues like fertilizers or something like that. That's my closing statement, I believe.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Iwan. And Dr. Saud, do you have any your close statements for today's international conference?
Yeah, thank you so much for Pa Irwan. I already agree with the Pa Irwan as well.
Mhm.
Like, we should prepare more regarding the health concerns. We are not still, active in such kind of pandemic issues, and we don't know that after the COVID there could be a new pandemic. So we should invest more in health concerns, and we should be well prepared and develop more strategies regarding the pandemic crisis in the world. Once the pandemic will be finished, inshallah, very soon, we hope so, we pray as well. But what will be after? So the afterword of the pandemic could be more worse. People, those who are there, they could face many economic crises and social disorder in the society. So I suggest and I recommend that we should be united. We should not be panicked, and we should stay calm and try to come to the normal routine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. South, for the close statement. So maybe before I close our discussion, so let me give a very short resumes for the presentation. So for our presentations about drug sort problem during pandemic, a review using practice base. So we talk about the problems start from the drugs distributions and the problem during the public and also the policy. And also kind of solutions. It's about solutions is the Burger duty in a product track and trace anti-counterfeit product control system or TTIC. And also Mr. Arwan give us a models about the supply chain system about drug distributions during the disaster. However, the short fail of the government assisting effort still risks and error inaccuracies due to the manual reporting, nature and data reported, which are summary data instead of granular data, rely too heavily, and also the risk of obsolete data on information. And also she gave us a recommendation about the FDA system in US. And our second keynote speaker, he talks about the social support, cohesion, and community resilience COVID-19. So when we talk about the pandemic ethics, about the government policy during COVID-19 and about the problem of mistrust of the society. So she has some kind of solutions based on the civic role and the community, start from the social support, social cohesion, social capital, and based on the community resilience. With that community resilience is to create resource of governments to consider the recovery planning. And also to strengthen and support recovery in many ways, include additional finance, public trust, and many more. Okay, so maybe that's all my short results for today's keynote speaker sessions. So before I close these sessions, I want to say thank you very much for Mr. Irwan and Dr. South about the time thank you for the time having us in this international conference, and I hope that this is a very interactive presentation, interactive talk can have a beneficial for our participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And also I want to say thanks. Nice to see you too. And I want to say thanks to the audience for the active participants. Thank you so much for all the participants, for all the questions. Also, I'm sorry for our listener in YouTube streaming. I cannot read all of the comments on our YouTube streaming. So, but I hope that this is can also answer the questions. Okay, so hopefully the presentation will be beneficial for everybody. Thank you very much for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Time and place, back
Thank
to
you,
the
Mas
master
Al.
of ceremony.
Thank you, Dr. Abidin Masab.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kinanti Smihayati. Wow, such a nice talks and presentations, ladies and gentlemen. Let's once again give the presenters a big round of applause. Thank you, Bapak, for attending this seminar, also having discussions with us. This is just interesting talk, and I hope the participants here, including the students also who are joining this presentation session, are enlightened by this talk. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to the next sessions. We hope that just like what Ms. Kinanti said before, we hope that we can end this presentation sessions with some enlightenment. And let's move to the next session. That is a break until 12:40 p.m. And after the break, all presenters are expected to join the breakout room at 12:40 p.m. Actually, the panel discussions will be started at 1 p.m. But we hope that you can come earlier at 12:45. It means that 15 minutes earlier, so we can prepare anything for you. And then there are 9 rooms, Bapak Ibu, that you can join that have already been prepared by the committee. And do not forget to rename your account using this format, name of the room _ your full name. Once again, the name of the room _ your full name. For example, my name is Dwi Wahyuning Tias and I belong to room 9. So my username is room 9 _ Dwi Wahyuning Tias. And I hope you can be enlightened once again and be on time. Do not forget, yes. And also, we should remind you that please be back to the main room, because after the panel discussions, after the panel sessions, there will be a closing remark from the head of LPPN UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. That's all, Bapak Ibu. Have a nice break, and I see you all again at around 3 p.m. Thank you so much, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.